Peace, fam, and welcome to the second episode of Awaken Your Conscious Self, presented by Consciouspirations. I'm your host, Tyler Aniranita, and I am so grateful to have you all here with me today. So, on this episode, we are going to be just talking a little bit about what spirituality actually is. A lot of people have so many different names for it. We have heard deconditioning, self-development, awareness, self-love. It's so many different names that you can call it, but we're going to just go ahead and say spirituality. And I also do use deconditioning a lot. So just understand that they both, or that all of these terms really kind of mean the same thing. So what is spirituality? The core of spirituality is self-love. It is so important to love yourself in this world, because if you do not have a love for yourself, this world will drive you crazy, okay? So, beginning to understand who you are on the inside is extremely important. That is the basis of spirituality. When we begin to actually have an awareness of who we are, we begin to basically begin to decondition from all the conditioning that society and, people in our lives have placed on us. When we start to awaken and become a lot more conscious of the things, or a lot more conscious of the areas in our lives, we begin to attract certain frequencies that take us on a completely whirlwinds of a journey. So not only is spirituality about the inner being, it's also about your external being, how you interact with the world, how you see and view the world, and how you consent to a lot of the things that the world is trying to basically force on us. So when you're going through, enlightenment, and you're going through your self-development, a lot of the things that you're going to begin to notice is that people around you are going to start dropping like flies, and not in a negative way, meaning that they are just going to be exiting your life. And if they aren't going to be exiting your life, they are going to be essentially growing with you. So when you begin your journey to self-love, it's really about introducing the world to the new you, right? You're like this new person. You see the world differently. You feel differently. You want to be different. You are aware of how you are trying to be different. And so you are, probably going to be in a state of mind that is a little self-centered and selfish, because honestly, when we are doing a lot of the work to make sure that our inner being is okay, we do have to be a little selfish. And that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be mean to other people, or you have to be nasty to them. But it's basically just putting yourself in a state where you put yourself first. And that's going to look completely different to everybody. Your awakening journey to your most conscious self is going to involve so many different things. And again, it looks completely different to everyone else. I know for me, when I began my journey, it was all about the experiences that I was having after I would do the inner work on my own in my own little bubble. So there were certain, things that I had to kind of work through, talk through, write through, to begin to have a peace about those particular things. And once, I might have felt like, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit better about this. And you know this because you aren't easily triggered by certain things. And we're going to get into triggers a little bit later. But you know this because you're not triggered by so many different things. Or when you are triggered by it, the trigger becomes less reactive each and every time. So you could be triggered by something at the beginning of your spiritual journey, then you just end up crying. You're just crying all over the place. You mad, you're angry, you're still triggered, and you gotta, it takes you days to come back to a calm state of mind, right? But as you begin your journey, that calm state of mind is going to happen within 5 minutes. It doesn't look the same once you actually begin to do the work. I believe that not every single trigger is meant to leave your life, because if we, look at astrology a little bit when it comes to the north nodes and things like that, these things are something that is going to be continuously revolving around our lives, because it's something that we're here to work on. So it's never going to go away. But we can make it to where the trigger, or the awareness of it becomes such a profound state to where you don't even get angry, or you don't feel sad about anything. It's just, oh, that again. Okay. All right. We've been here before. You kind of talk yourself down a little bit. You do your inner work practices like meditation or yoga, things like that. And then 5 minutes later, you forget all about it. Honestly, now when something is slightly a trigger for me, I kind of have to talk about it out loud, right? And then I be good. I'm like, I just got to get it off my chest, and then I'm good. So it's like my reaction to that, thing that I need to work on is in a much better reactive state versus when I first, started my spiritual journey. So like some people will be like me and have the experiences, and some people will go through their spiritual journey a little bit different. For some people, maybe they come into contact with a lot of tools that allow them to begin accessing those deep questions that they need to ask themselves in order to begin healing. Some people are just, operated that way. There's no right or wrong way that your spiritual journey is going to align with you. It's going to align with you in the way that the universe understands who you are and how you think and how you are going to react to the information that you receive. So it could go about, again, two ways. It could be through a world of experiences and learning, teaching yourself, or it could be, I learned this from this tool, or I've learned this from this person. And, that person helped me open up these so many questions about who I am. So it can look completely different for everyone. Spirituality also offers everyone a peaceful state of mind, a peaceful being. If you are not at peace with your life, with who you are, again, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, this world is going to drive you bananas. If you don't have a way to recenter yourself, it's going to be very, very hard for you to navigate through a lot of the hardships that come with being on earth, living in the 3D realm. So spirituality allows you, or gives you pretty much a gateway into knowing how to react less to things, and knowing how to, and having less of a mindset that seeks outside of yourself for answers versus seeking those answers within yourself. So let's talk about that a little bit. What does that look like? So let's say, for example, you are someone that always need advice and confirmation from other people in order to do certain things, or in order to work through certain things. Now, there are some people, we've learned in human design, that actually need to talk things out with people in order for them to, come to a good conclusion. But that conclusion is solely still based on them. A lot of us listen to, advice of other people, or seek things outside of ourselves with the intent of actually having them tell us what to do. Spirituality says, no, we're not doing that. We are going within. We are finding ways that we can nurture our inner beings to get the answers that we need. For me, that looks like meditating. For me, it's a dream. It's a visualization. I have a very imaginative mind. I can, remember most of my dreams for the night. And I also have a lot of downloads through visions and daydreams. So though that is how answers come to me, right? It's really through intuition. And we're going to definitely get into intuition in a little bit as well. But when you stop looking for answers outside of yourself, that is when you can start to really step into being your most conscious self. So spirituality actually gives you that as well. It gives you the answers within yourself. Let's talk about intuition, because when you are on your spiritual journey, gratitude source. The reason why I said gratitude was because y'all, I honestly lost my train of thought. I knew that I said that there was something that I had that we were going to talk about a little bit later, and I could not remember it. And so I sat there and I waited for it to come to me. And then I literally just started talking without even really remembering what it was. And then boom, it just downloaded right back into me. So that's why I said gratitude source, because I'm grateful for that. Me and my higher self, we here with it. So let's go ahead and get into intuition. I just love that introduction that my higher self just made. So when we talk about intuition, we are talking about, how does the universe talk to you? How does your higher self talk to you? And a lot of us know our intuition, but a lot of us are not connected to our intuition. So for example, you may hear or you may feel things, or your mind might say something, and you just have an urge to do something, or you're like, oh, you know what? Something's telling me to go here. That is your intuition. But a lot of us just have that surface level relationship with our intuition. We don't have a deeper level of relationship with our intuition, because we haven't really been taught on how to connect with it, right? How to connect with the source within you. So intuition is a beautiful thing when you are able to listen to something that you can't see. You're only listening to a feeling, right? And sometimes it's a voice. And like I said earlier, it's also a daydream, a dream, or a vision, something that is outside of you, but somehow you have a knowing of it. That's not anything that we, can physically explain, but it's something that we can energetically explain. And intuition is going to heighten as you continue your journey. So if it's not something that's developed right now, don't worry. We are definitely going to get into that, because I had to be very intentional about going back within myself and kind of just trying to get downloads on how I worked through a lot of the things that I worked through. As I said earlier in the podcast, I was the person that it was a lot of self work, a lot of me. There was really no outside sources to assist me other than other than my higher self, that assisted me on my journey. So I kind of just had a knowing of a lot of things. So if you ask me if I've read a book, or if I've talked to other people, and how am I so wise? How do I know so many things? It's honestly just in me. That's just who I am. And now I am on a journey to where I am actually implementing y'all, where I am actually implementing tools that will probably give you guys some, tangible things that can assist you, rather than, because I know some people, are like that. They need something that they can also, see while they are working on a lot of different things. And so I feel like Spirit has been, sending me in that direction of basically just learning a lot of tools so that I can be able to assist you all on a different level as well. Speaking of tools, let's go ahead and get into some. Tools are a major part of spirituality as well, using the universe, right, to point us in the right direction of how this world was created essentially. With spirituality tools, you have everything from astrology, human design, which I am diving a lot into. You have gene keys, you have the chakras, you have so many different tools that can help you center yourself, help you get to know yourself, because we all were placed here for a reason. And we all were placed here with particular amount of gifts that our spiritual journey is going to allow us to remember. So you have to remember who you are. That is so important. And that is really what spirituality is. It takes you on this journey of self-discovery and just a loving and a knowing of who you are. That is, listen, when I began to just kind of have an understanding of who I am at my core, I just began to love myself unconditionally, right? And unconditionally doesn't mean that there aren't things that I can, or I don't, sit there and have troubles with, because we are all, that's what the North Node is, right? That is in astrology. The North Node is here to be the things that we need to work on. And these things are always going to pop back up in our lives. So although, we're going to love ourselves and, we treat ourselves so much better, there are things from the universe that have been placed within us so that we can continue to evolve, and we have to get tested, right? So there are some things in the North Node that's going to keep coming back. So for me, it's self-esteem, right? Just to kind of let you guys in a little bit of my business. My North Node is actually in the second house, and that is the house that rules finances, self-esteem, and something else. I can't really remember right now. So although I completely love myself and I love who I am on the inside and the outside, but that does not mean that sometimes a self-esteem issue won't arise because of, whatever the universe test is trying to throw at me, right? But what makes it different from when I am not aware and I'm not living in my authentic self and I'm not conscious, back then I may have had this completely negative, drawn out, just horrible sense and way of dealing with these things. Now, if I have a thought and I'm like, I don't really like the way that looks, I'm like, listen, it don't even matter. Look, it don't matter, right? So I'm more like on myself about these things. Like, girls, don't nobody care. So I easily can come out of that mindset versus without my spirituality, I used to delve into that so negatively, be crying for days, like, oh my goodness, I don't like this and my body is this. And now it's like, no, girl, bump all that. You are popping. You are beautiful. And a lot of that actually is also due to just pretty much, having this high vibrational life now and saying, okay, these are the things that I need to do for myself in order to make sure that I am where I want to be. So if it was this, this little self-esteem issue about my body, it's like, okay, well, now I'm in such a high vibrational space to where it's like, now I'm eating the right foods that's automatically giving me the body that I want. Now I'm eating the foods that helped my body to begin to heal. So I'm not sad about, oh my goodness, like I can't even work out because my heart is this and my heart is that. I'm not getting off topic, I promise. So being on my spiritual journey allowed me to work through all of those things that allowed me to get to a space where whatever my North Node is telling me that I'm going to consistently, that's going to consistently be popping up for me, I know exactly how to handle it now. So it's not something that drags out. It's literally, boop, I've been made aware of it. I am aware of it. I talk myself through it. 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute top, and then my mind completely forgets about it because my my core is the fact that I love myself. So once you get there, anything that your North Node's telling you, anything that they're telling you about your shadow self, things that are going to come back, you will learn how to work through them so much more efficiently when you have stepped into your most authentic self. And that is something that I can definitely promise you all. So just to recap on what spirituality is, it is self-love. It is learning how to work through your triggers. It is learning who you are at your core being so that you can have this high vibrational vibe about you so that people will see that and will feel that. It's also about understanding that, your external environment is going to begin to match your internal environment when you're doing the work. So we talked about, you potentially losing relationships or gaining so much more positive relationships. And that is what spirituality is going to do. It's going to also give you tools that is going to be able to assist you in navigating this world properly and being able to put yourself in a state of high vibrations. On the next episode, we are going to talk about let's see what my intuition is telling me the next episode is going to be about. Oh, we're going to talk about the connection to spirituality and living foods. Because once we start going down this journey and once I start actually doing the live chats with you all, we are going to start diving into that self-love. That's really what that part is going to be about. So I want, the beginning of the podcast just to kind of flow into each category that we're going to get into. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to get into other topics. It's just the intentional topics. So the next episode, we are going to talk about why you should consume living foods, the importance of living foods, and how when you are on your spiritual journey that you may just automatically be connected to wanting to fuel your body with source versus everything that the archons are putting into our food. And that's probably going to be a term that we will talk about on this podcast as well. That's kind of when we tend to dive into the matrix and all that. So we ain't going to get there just yet. By intent that I gave you all some insight into spirituality. And of course, there is so much more to discuss, but those were just the things that kind of was downloaded to me during this episode. So once we get into it again, I'm pretty sure we're going to have so much more to talk about. I am, as always, grateful for you all to watching and listening to the Awaken Your Conscious Self podcast. I am Tyler Anuranita, and I will see you on episode 3. Peace.